the current resurgence of the character in pop culture, Shadow the Hedgehog is fresh in the minds of Sonic fans and the general public. Though ordinarily the character wouldn't require an introduction, considering he'll be appearing in two big projects that heavily rely on his history, I thought it'd be fun to make a video giving people a refresher, so that no reference goes misunderstood. I hope you enjoy. Some necessary background information before we get started on the timeline proper. 50 years prior to the events of Sonic Adventure 2, the United Federation, Sonic's equivalent to the US government, would commission a top-secret project to a group of scientists, with the world-renowned Gerald Robotnik as head researcher. The goal of this project was discovering the key to immortality for the sake of military application. It would be named Project Shadow, a sarcastic name coined by researchers, referencing the seeming impossibility of the task. Gerald would devote himself entirely to this project, however, as he had more personal motivations for its success, as his granddaughter, Maria Robotnik, was afflicted with a terminal illness. It was very possible that this illness could be potentially cured with the fruits of this project's research. In fact, she would accompany the doctor to the secret research site where experiments would take place, Space Colony Ark. It would be there, after many trials and a volatile failed prototype, that the ultimate life form would be created, Shadow the Hedgehog. Though the lengths that Gerald would go through to ensure his creation won't be fully revealed until later in our story. Shadow would be born with a pre-programmed positive disposition, modeled after Maria's own personality, which made the two naturally form a strong bond. Though Shadow was considered a great success that far surpassed his predecessor, unknown suspicions from the UF would lead to them freezing funds on the project, culminating in them sending the international military force GUN to cover up all details of the project, eliminating anyone and anything involved in the process. As the researchers were being wiped out in a raid on the Ark, Shadow and Maria would attempt to flee via an escape pod, though sadly, only Shadow would make it, as Maria would be fatally shot by a GUN soldier, with her using her last bit of strength to send Shadow away. He wouldn't make it far, however, as he was soon discovered by GUN and was sealed away in stasis on Prison Island. Gerald managed to not be caught in the raid on the Ark, instead being taken into custody along with Shadow, so that he could continue his research under military supervision. However, the loss of Maria would cost him his sanity, causing him to implant false memories within Shadow, making him hostile toward humanity and the Earth itself. He would then soon be executed as a preventative measure by the UF, leaving Shadow dormant for the next 50 years. This is where our story begins for Shadow. Dr. Ivo Robotnik, Gerald's grandson who commonly goes by Eggman, would learn of Project Shadow, seeing a golden opportunity at global domination. He would go on to raid Prison Island, discovering Shadow, who would then pledge his loyalty to him out of thanks. Shadow would instruct the Doctor to begin gathering the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and to meet him on the Space Colony Ark that still remains in orbit. Shadow would then personally find an emerald in Central City, and after a brief encounter with the titular character Sonic the Hedgehog, would soon use the ability Chaos Control to teleport away from the scene, leaving Sonic to be framed for his actions due to a mistaken identity. Shadow would then return to the Ark, meeting with Eggman and informing him of the existence of a superweapon built into the Ark, known as the Eclipse Cannon. This cannon, when powered with the emeralds, has the capacity to destroy entire planets. Eggman decides to use the combined strength of the cannon and the emeralds to rule over the Earth with the threat of destruction. Though Shadow would agree to aid the Doctor in his plans, he secretly was plotting to use the cannon to destroy the planet entirely, fulfilling his pre-programmed need for revenge. During this discussion, a spy by the name of Rouge the Bat that previously encountered Eggman joins them, giving them an emerald as an offering of good faith. The group would then return to Prison Island, which housed 3 more emeralds, planting bombs to destroy the island once their search was complete. Despite a run-in with Sonic and friends, they're successful, and now have 6 of the 7 emeralds required for their plans. With enough energy to do massive damage, Eggman threatens the Earth to surrender within 24 hours or face annihilation at the hands of the Eclipse Cannon, demonstrating the weapon's power by blasting a sizable chunk off of the moon. The villain trio then return to Eggman's pyramid base to retrieve the last emerald from Tails, which then results in all parties on course toward the Ark. Eggman then captures Amy, blackmailing Sonic into cooperation whilst tricking Tails into revealing their plans, to give the Doctor a fake emerald to deactivate the cannon. Sonic is then ejected into orbit in an exploding pod and presumed dead. Meanwhile, Rouge shares details she learned while looking into Project Shadow, questioning Shadow on his own identity, but he remains steadfast in his pursuit of revenge. He then comes across Sonic on his way to the Eclipse Cannon, who survived the pod explosion by mimicking Shadow's Chaos Control with the fake emerald he had. The two race toward the cannon in a final battle. However, during their race, Eggman manages to insert the final emerald into the cannon, though all was not how it seemed. Instead of the emeralds completing the cannon, it instead activates a Doomsday program installed into the Ark by its designer, Gerald Robotnik. A video is shown to the entire world, where he reveals the details of his program along with his intentions to get revenge. Eggman also discovers a hard drive that has Gerald's diary, explaining Maria's death being his motivation for his actions, Shadow's brainwashing included, and that Shadow's release would be the catalyst for things to come. Everyone, now united, rushes to the cannon's core to use the Master Emerald to cancel out the Chaos Emerald's power, stopping the program. Though Shadow initially refuses to participate out of apathy, Amy Rose makes her case for humanity not deserving destruction, and this reminds Shadow of his commitment to give humanity a chance to Maria, and so he decides to help as well. Though everyone makes it to the core, the original prototype of Project Shadow, the Bio-Lizard, stands in their way, and Shadow steps up to defeat the beast. Knuckles uses the Master Emerald to enact the plan, but Bio-Lizard uses Chaos Control to fuse with the Ark, moving it toward the Earth, nullifying the team's efforts in the process. In a last-ditch effort to save the planet, Sonic and Shadow use the 7 emeralds to transform, and now confront the newly made Final Hazard in orbit, and defeat the beast together. The two use Chaos Control to move the Ark away from the Earth into stable orbit, averting tragedy. This technique came at the cost of Shadow, however, who failed to maintain a transformed state and plummeted toward the Earth at terminal velocity. Satisfied that he fulfilled his true promise, Shadow accepted his fate and fell to his presumed death. While hunting for treasure inside one of Eggman's bases, Rouge would come across Shadow inside of a stasis pod. In the process of freeing him, she activates a rogue Eggman bot by the name of E-123 Omega, who then promptly attack the two. After de-escalating the situation, Rouge comes to learn that Omega seeks revenge against Eggman for sealing him away, and to prove his superiority amongst the Doctor's own creations. Shadow, on the other hand, simply has no memory prior to his release from the pod, and Eggman appears to be the most likely source of information as to who he is. With a united destination, Rouge leads the group on the path toward finding Eggman, encountering the Doctor several times along with butting heads with Team Sonic and Team Chaotix. Shadow plays far more of a passive role in the game's overall plot, mostly reacting to events as the trio pursue the Doctor time and time again, not discovering much in the way of tangible information about his past. However, after defeating the Doctor and his Egg Emperor aboard his fleet, the group would soon discover a warehouse full of identical copies of Shadow in the same pods as the one he was discovered in, leading Rouge to question whether or not they've been traveling with an android the whole time. Omega reassures her that the original must have been necessary for these androids to be made, and then promptly destroys the copies. In the final climax of the game, the trio along with the other teams would assist in slowing down Neo Metal Sonic, while Sonic and his team use the power of the emeralds to defeat him, the group then presumably going their separate ways. Shadow the Hedgehog begins with our hero attempting to recall his memories on a hill over the city of Listopolis. A newspaper detailing a 50-year return of a so-called Black Comet blows by. He has flashes of the raid on Space Colony Ark by Gunn, and the memory where Maria lost her life, but has no context for the events or who Maria even is. And soon after this flashback, a large force of aliens descends upon the city, wreaking havoc upon the citizens. Apathetic to the plight of humans, Shadow's about to leave when he's approached by an alien called Black Doom. He informs Shadow that a promised time is upon them, and that it's time for Shadow to claim the 7 emeralds for him as promised. Before Shadow can inquire further, the alien escapes, and Shadow plays along, seeing him as the only real lead he has toward learning more about himself. Inside of the city, Shadow will come across Sonic, who sides with Gunn in wanting to defend the city, and Black Doom, who wants Shadow to assist in the takeover. The choice is up to the player whether to support either or neither side, and similar decisions throughout the course of the game will affect the subsequent ending. For the sake of keeping our story concise, we'll only focus on the canon ending. Shadow eventually gathers all 7 emeralds. Once at the Black Comet, Sonic and friends implore Shadow not to give the emerald to Doom, as he has nothing but malicious intent with them. Doom eventually reveals his intentions to use the emerald to transport the Black Comet down to the Earth, using humans as a food source for his army of Black Arms. Shocked by this, Shadow's caught off guard as Doom takes the emeralds. He then informs Shadow of his true origin, that he's actually one of Doom's offspring due to Gerald utilizing his blood during the process of creating him in Project Shadow. This wasn't for free, however, as in exchange for using his biological material, Gerald promised Doom that Shadow would deliver the emeralds the next time the Black Comet orbits the Earth in 50 years. Stunned by this revelation, Shadow's trapped in his own thoughts as Doom uses a gas to paralyze everyone, keeping them from interfering. Shadow hears Maria's voice, pushing him to move forward and save everyone. Being a member of the Black Arms makes Shadow immune to Doom's gas, and after declaring his intention to defeat the alien, he gives chase. However, Doom would soon use Shadow's Black Armed blood against him, attempting to use mind control on him. Team Chaotix would then use footage they discovered of Gerald prior to his madness to reveal his original intentions for the people of Earth from the Ark. If you will recall earlier from our story, the UF's initial cause for suspending and then eventually terminating Project Shadow were originally unknown. Well, this would turn out to be Gerald's cooperation with Black Doom and Shadow's creation. Gerald foresaw a gun coming down on the researchers on the Ark, and so to take responsibility for his actions, he created the Eclipse Cannon, the original purpose of the weapon being in fact to destroy the Black Comet and the Black Arm species by proxy. In the video, he entrusts this task to Shadow along with Maria's encouragement. With newfound motivation, Shadow breaks free from the mind control and transforms into Super Shadow using the emeralds, going forward to face Black Doom in his most powerful form. The two do battle, with Shadow being the ultimate victor. He then uses Chaos Control to return the comet to orbit, promptly destroying it with the Eclipse Cannon as it was originally intended. With the world celebrating a crisis averted, Shadow does away with his own past, deciding to defend the people of Earth on his own terms. Shadow, now cooperating with the UF government, follows up on an SOS signal by Rouge at one of Eggman's bases. She had managed to steal a mysterious artifact known as the Scepter of Darkness, intending to rendezvous at Kingdom Valley to deliver the package. While en route to make the delivery, the two are attacked by Eggman, resulting in the scepter being dropped and releasing its contents, or, more accurately, its captive. A black mist latches onto Shadow's shade, recreating his image and giving its name, Mephiles the Dark. The two are then taken by Mephiles 200 years into the future, where Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles appear soon after due to being sent there by Eggman in a trap. The two groups agree to search for 2 Chaos Emeralds, so that Sonic and Shadow can both use Chaos Control together to make a time portal that everybody can escape through. In the process of searching for one of the emeralds, Shadow and Rouge come across an inoperable Omega and decide to leave him be. Once 2 emeralds are gathered, the group begin to go through the portal. However, spotting Mephiles makes Shadow opt to give chase instead, losing his chance to leave in the process. Mephiles, in a bid to make Shadow come to his side, shows him a fate where he's betrayed by the people of Earth who fear his potential, not too dissimilar to the actions of Gunn 50 years ago. Despite this revelation, Shadow refuses to join forces with Mephiles, and lets the two engage in a battle that appears to be a stalemate. Suddenly, Omega comes to Shadow's aid, due to Rouge finding him in the present, tasking him with giving Shadow an emerald 200 years in the future. Together, they defeat Mephiles and promptly chase him into one of his portals leading to the present. After learning that Eggman's robots are on his tail, Shadow confronts the Doctor, inquiring about further details regarding Mephiles, but is only told about something called the Solaris Project. Shadow then interferes in a battle between a time traveler by the name of Silver the Hedgehog and Sonic. Shadow defeats Silver, and in the process, the two open a portal to 10 years in the past, when the Solaris Project occurred. Shadow then invites Silver to join him in search of answers, and he accepts. It's there they learn the origins of Mephiles and Iblis, a large flame creature that destroyed the future that Silver is from. The two beings are separated parts of Solaris, a god that was worshipped by the people of Soliana. Under the guise of an energy production project, researchers would study the ability to manipulate time itself, with the intention of erasing humanity's old mistakes and potentially giving the Duke of Soliana and his daughter Elise a chance at reuniting with the now deceased Duchess of Soliana. A catastrophic incident would occur, however, killing the researchers and gravely wounding the Duke himself, and splitting Solaris into Mephiles and Iblis respectively. Shadow would seal Mephiles inside of the Scepter of Darkness, and Iblis would be sealed inside of Elise herself, only being released if the girl were to cry. After returning to the present, Shadow comes at the behest of Rouge to Omega's aid while he battles Mephiles, who then flees. They catch up to him at Dusty Desert, where, after another failed attempt from Mephiles to recruit Shadow to his side, the three battle Mephiles, and Shadow attempts to reseal him inside of the Scepter, but this time it fails. Despite the setback, Shadow and company continue their battle with Mephiles. After clearing out waves of clones, the group go for the emeralds left behind, but they suddenly vanish. It turns out while they were preoccupied with the clones, Mephiles had ambushed Sonic and Elise who were traveling together, killing Sonic and causing Elise to cry, releasing Iblis. With all the emeralds gathered, Mephiles was now able to fuse with Iblis, becoming Solaris once more. With all of the main cast now inside of a void, the only option was to gather the emeralds in an attempt for the Hedgehogs to transform and confront Solaris. However, since Solaris exists both in the past, present, and future, It would take the combined effort of all three Hedgehogs to finish off Solaris for good. Since Sonic's soul was still present in the environment according to Elise, everyone splits up to gather the emeralds, and using Elise's connection to Sonic, they manage to revive him as Super Sonic. The remaining two Hedgehogs then transform, and subsequently battle Solaris, Shadow in the past, Sonic in the present, and Silver in the future. They come out victorious, and Sonic travels with Elise to a point in time where Solaris is a small, vulnerable flame, and convinces her to extinguish him. This prevents all of the events up until this point from occurring, wiping all traces of Elise, Solaris, and Soliana from everyone's mind in the process, as if none of it ever happened. Though Shadow doesn't play a direct role in the core events of Sonic Force's plot, his prior actions would set everything into motion. While pursuing a lead from Rouge about a suspicious Eggman base, Shadow arrives to see Omega, who had arrived before him, defeated by a mysterious villain named Infinite. He reveals that he had once had a previous encounter with Shadow when he was the leader of Squad Jackal, a mercenary group scouted by Eggman. Months prior, Shadow would raid a base they were defending, defeating them and humiliating Infinite in the process. Ashamed, the battered Jackal would merge himself with the Phantom Ruby, gaining incredible power and a new identity. He then attempts to trap Shadow inside of a phantom dimension, and though he manages to escape, Infinite is satisfied with the results, confident that he can defeat Sonic. Shadow's forced to escape the base before it explodes, and Sonic would later be defeated at the hands of Infinite, setting the events of Sonic Forces into motion. Whether it be his star appearance in the new film, or central role in Sonic Shadow Generations, it's nice to see the character with the strongest arc and most consistent characterization in the series get some love. I hope to see you all enjoying the upcoming Shadow content. This was Unwatchable.